Disarm the monster. That's the phrase that kept repeating in my mind like a church bell in a storm. Disarm the monster, not by killing it, not by running from it, but by understanding that it is you, a version of you from long ago, trying to keep you alive with the only tools it had. Today, we're diving into something I've come to admire not for its power, but for the quiet courage it demands to overcome. Fearful-Avoidant Attachment. Yes, that shadowy dance between intimacy and independence, closeness and collapse. And more importantly, the 3 early signs that healing has begun. That's what we're discussing today. The subtle, almost imperceptible changes that suggest, like spring cracking through winter's frost, you're becoming something new. Let's begin. I once knew a woman. We'll call her Lydia. Lydia had eyes like wildfire and a heart barricaded in steel. She'd fall in love the way some people fall into rivers, suddenly, desperately, and with a faint panic that she might drown. The moment someone tried to get too close, whoosh, she'd vanish, not out of cruelty, no, out of instinct. You see, the fearful avoidant is a paradox. Like trying to hug a hedgehog, they crave intimacy, yet recoil from it. They long to be seen, but fear being known. And so, when Lydia finally began to change, the first sign wasn't dramatic, it was almost boring. It was pause. Sign 1. You recognize when you're dysregulated and you don't act on it. Imagine being at the edge of a cliff, wind in your ears, heart pounding, tempted to leap or run. But instead of either, you sit, you breathe, you wait. That's what healing looks like at first. The moment when your nervous system is screaming. Text them, block them, run, apologize, destroy. And instead you say, I see you, chaos, but you're not driving today. This is no small feat. It's not restraint, it's wisdom. A kind of internal weather forecast. Currently storming. Emotional visibility low. All major decisions delayed. I once told Lydia this. You wouldn't perform heart surgery during an earthquake, so why would you end or restart a relationship when you're shaking inside? She laughed, a little bitterly. But months later, she called me just to say, I waited. I breathed. I didn't run. And in that pause, she planted a seed. Sign 2. You stop thinking of yourself as broken. There is something sacred, divine even, about separating who you are from what you did to survive. Fearful avoidants are often haunted by the thought, I'm too much. I'm not enough. I ruin everything. This belief is sticky. It clings. It masquerades as humility, but it is shame, dressed in monk's robes. But healing? Healing begins the moment you look at yourself and say, this isn't a flaw. This is conditioning. I was taught love was a battlefield, and I became a soldier. You remember those classroom posters from childhood? You are not your mistakes. For most, just decoration. For the fearful avoidant, a revolution. I met a man, Daniel. Stoic, sharp, brilliant, terrified of commitment and ashamed of that fear. One night over tea, he drank chamomile like it was whiskey. He confessed, I always thought I was defective. But you're not a faulty machine, I told him. You're a brilliant one, built under siege. And when Daniel finally stopped calling himself names, stopped believing he was broken, and instead started seeing a boy who learned love meant unpredictability, he changed. He didn't become perfect. He became compassionate. To himself first. And that's everything. Sign 3. You no longer flinch at vulnerability in others or yourself. Now, this one is subtle and powerful. Do you know the grimace people make when watching someone sob on reality television? That twitch of discomfort. For the fearful avoidant, that reaction isn't just distaste, it's alarm. Because vulnerability was dangerous once. Maybe they showed need and were punished for it. Or worse, ignored. So they internalize a rule: don't cry, don't need, don't reveal. And if they had to live that way, then by God, so should everyone else. But healing lets others be soft without feeling threatened. You no longer need to critique their tears to protect yourself from your own. I once observed a woman, Jessica, who had spent years eye-rolling her friend's drama. Then one day, her friend cried. Really cried. Jessica didn't scoff. She held her. No lecture, no subtle shift in posture. She simply stayed. Later, she told me, I didn't feel like I had to run or fix it. I just let it be sad. That, my dear friends, is a triumph. Not the kind they write songs about, but the kind that rewrites destinies. There's a lovely idea in Japanese philosophy, kintsugi, the art of repairing broken pottery with gold, so that the break becomes part of the beauty. That is what healing from fearful avoidant attachment looks like. Not perfection, not a Hollywood transformation montage, but a slow, tender reassembly. One that says, this crack here, that's where the light came in. So if you've noticed that you can sit with your chaos, forgive your survival instincts, and witness others in their softness without needing to flee or mock, that's not small. That is healing. It is not loud, it will not always be applauded, but it is, nonetheless, magnificent. And remember, disarming the monster does not mean denying it existed. It means understanding that it once kept you safe, and now it can rest. So if today you paused before sending that panicked message, if you reminded yourself you are not broken but brave, if you let someone cry without making it about you, then let me say this plainly: you are healing, and it shows. Now tell me, what tiny moment of growth surprised you lately? Leave it with me. I do love a good tale of quiet triumph.
If you believe this video might help someone dear to you, share it with them. A small gesture on your part could mean the world to a friend in need.